welcome you all to this webinar on the bank directors. We had the first webinar during May, and this is the second one, which is a very special topic of cyber security during pandemic and beyond. And to talk to all of us, we have Mr. Gandhi, former Deputy Governor of Reserve Bank of India. And during his term in Reserve Bank of India, he was in charge of information technology, payments, and some other areas, and one who architected the changes that were necessary at the time of demonetization. And for IDRBT, Mr. Gandhi, we have very special role here. He was chairman of our governing council. Prior to that, of course, he was member of the governing council and even he was director of the Institute for Science. And during his term with IDRBT, we took several initiatives during the period. Before I hand over to him to share his thoughts, I have 2 points. First is, in institute, we work very closely with banks. I think
you have to kindly mute your mic, Mr. Vijay Turai.
Sir, okay, sir.
So all of you mute your systems, otherwise we will be forced to do it from our end. So at IDRBT, we work very closely with banks on technology issues and also on cyber security. We have a center of excellence for cyber security. We coordinate CISO meetings regularly, which are very active and help. And as part of the activity, we also do cyber drills, giving feedback to banks about the. In fact, we could do a cyber drill even during this lockdown period in May. We did it. We shared the results, and there was a CISO forum meeting also. And that way, we continuously coordinate with CISOs and the cyber security issues in the banks. Some of you, I'm very happy to say that some of you have participated in the certificate program on cyber security for bank directors. And that program, which we could not do during lockdown period, probably will start again in August or September. So small now we have gone more on to e-learning modules. We are conducting continuously programs on e-learning. Right now also some programs are going on, some on cyber security, and banks are taking advantage of that. So that way, as an institute, we are continuously interacting with the banks, all bank directors, take note of this and see how the institute's abilities can be utilized in respect to banks also. And during the CISO forum meeting, when we were talking of cyber security, in fact, I flagged 4 important issues that I thought we had I detailed, elaborate discussions. Mr. Gandhi will be able to enlighten us on that. But before that, I just want to say the 4 issues which are important. One, the lockdown related issues will force us to start working from home. And working from home is a very convenient form, but it has its own vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities both in terms of technology and vulnerabilities even in terms of processes and people. Because people are working away from us, what are the controls and all that, this has to be seen. I think this is one thing which at board level also we have to look for. The second thing is these difficult situations warrant us to come with different kind of solutions. These solutions sometimes may be very innovative. They are very helpful to the banks. But when we go into such innovative fast track mode, there is a possibility of not taking so much care about the information security. This cannot be done. Even if we have to roll out some products and services which are very innovative, I think we have to ensure that the cyber security part is properly taken care. That is something board needs to always get assurance. Any innovation is not at the cost of cyber security. That is the second issue that we got our plan. The third thing is the BCP which we have been doing all these days, business plan. Though in the plan we have always kept people as a focus, but most of the time the drills are done as though it is a technology related issue. Like if the data center is not available, But here is a situation when people are not available at the right time at the right place. I think this BCP plan itself may need to be redrawn to some extent. And fourth item, which I thought was very relevant to most of the banks, is that whatever existing information security policies and security policies need to be relooked at very closely, particularly when you are opening up to work from home and other things. I think these 3-4 items which the board needs to consider is something which we thought were very important. I'm sure Gandhi will deliberate more on that, share his experience, share his expertise. He was with technology for a very long time. Even now, he is guiding many banks and other institutions on technology and cybersecurity related. So, we will listen from Mr. Gandhi as to what are all the things that we need to look at board level, especially when we are looking at cybersecurity in pandemic situations. And not only now, it's beyond, because this pandemic is not, it could be a little longer, but the impact could be even longer. So, all these issues we will listen from Mr. and hand out to Narendra to take it further. Narendra.
Narendra, your mic is off.
Right, sorry. Sorry. Thank you very much, sir. Before I hand over to Gandhi, sir, may I request all the participants once again to kindly mute your audio and video both until the comments and suggestion session at the end of Gandhi sir's talk. I now hand over to Gandhi sir.
Thank you, Narendra. Good morning, everybody. My special thanks to Dr. Shastri inviting me to be interacting with all of you today on the very current topic, which is exercising in our mind across everybody, right from the board level. Everybody needs to be much concerned about the cyber security. So that way, that's the topic that has been chosen has been very apt for the timing. And I'm also very glad to see among the audience, Kansab, Padmanabhan, Srinath, and the others are also there, Mr. Ajay Kumar and others. Thank you very much for participating in this program. Yes, first of all, we are all living in a very testing time. The COVID situation, it is impacting and it is having a large scale impact, not just in India, throughout the world. And this impact is pervasive, not just pervasive, and also enduring. And it is affecting very many segments of the social fabric, whether it is society or economical, political, scientific, cultural, and every sphere it is putting its impact. And because of COVID, there has been quite a lot of fundamental changes we are seeing in the beliefs, attitudes, and behaviors of the people. It is not just now, and it is going forward also. There will be further changes in the beliefs and attitudes and behavior. And technology is one such sector where such profound changes are happening. Can we go to the next slide? Yeah, during COVID, during the period of COVID lockdown period, we had taken quite a lot of measures. Organizations, including banks and financial institutions, had to choose between doing business or not doing business. They have to balance the risk between doing business and not doing business during this time. And banks were actually mandated to be functional and operational, and they had faced quite a lot of restrictions in terms of the number of staff who can come up to the office and the physical distance that they should be keeping, the social distancing, which they have to take care of, and also to take care of their hygiene and health related issues also. The sector was already relying heavily on technology and digitalization, and both had actually helped them to cope up with the situation during this time. Then, during this period, a lot of ad hoc decisions had to be taken because there was no time. So speed was the essence and expediency was the other mantra, and the organization had to continuously take care of and modify the measures that they had taken during this period. And also another very important thing is that during this period, banks and had to consciously admit that certain known risks they have to accept during this period, which those kind of risks in the normal times would have been not been acceptable at all. But during this time, we have to accept that. I'll explain this a little more in the later slides. Next slide, please. So what all we did during this period? Because there had been direction to close offices and very limited staff were to be working in offices. So work from home had become the real help for many organizations to rely on. and banks also did. But of course, some people had to come to office, and others were working from home also. So, work from home is a new concept, and it is also not easy to undertake work from home on such a massive scale. Quite a lot of ad hoc decision, as I said, had to be taken. Security cordon like the secure VPN, endpoint security, mobile device security, all also had to be provided for. And simultaneously, banks have to purchase and equip themselves with more licenses, remote access licenses, bandwidth enhancements, number of gateways, etc. will have to be, they also have to be arranged. So the banks have to do that. And sometimes in some situation, banks and organizations have to give the desktop or laptop or tablets or whatever computer equipment that will be possible to quickly arrange for the staff to work from home. And these desktops or laptops, etc., had to be preloaded with the required applications and with no USB port, etc., etc. Quite a bit of security measures are also to be applied, and that has to be distributed to the staff so that they can work from home. And organizations had also to compromise on several safety protocols. For example, in a typical organization, in a IT environment, we would have put the control that no paper, no smartphone, no recording devices, etc. should be usable, but that is not enforceable when people are working from home. And they also had to, as I said, knowingly leave certain open risk, accept those risks. For example, copying of the data at home is not preventable at all. We have to accept that. And by the home security, in terms of network security at homes, we will be not necessarily be of high order, because the same network was being shared across several devices which people use at home, including the IoT devices. Next, please. So during this period, threats have increased manifold. It is not just only the known problems. Hello.
Sorry.
Next slide, please.
Next.
Yeah. So during this period, several cyber threats increased throughout the world. The normal phishing attacks started increasing. Sophisticated attacks like the malware, Trojan attacks, ransomwares were increasing. And actually, Interpol had given warnings to many of all its members, that these kind of problems have been seen on an increasing scale during this lockdown period. And the remote working tools, especially the targets of attacks were the remote working tools and the video conferencing software. And to some extent, we could feel that even our own Ministry of Home Affairs had advised certain video conferencing software are not secured enough. So that kind of problem came up. The vulnerabilities got exposed during this period. Then sensitive data had to, as I said, had to travel along with so many of other data flow that comes from home, like game, music, TV contents, etc. So these are all the threats. Perception has increased. Actual threats have also been on the high side. Whether it resulted in any loss or anything, it is too quick to assess. But the threat perception definitely we have to recognize. And in the financial sector side, the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, the international organization which helps all the banking and financial institutions, they also pointed out special problems relating to money laundering and terrorist financing during this period. Because many governments in many countries have announced very large fiscal expenses, and these kind of expenses can lead to corruption and money laundering related issues. So they have cautioned that during this period we have to be careful about that also. So like that, the cyber threats have been increasing across various parts of the world. Next, please. that was in the past. Now going forward, what all things we may have to do, what are the ideas which we can discuss? That's what I'm going to discuss about now. The very first requirement will be that the organization will have to have a hard relook on the way they are structured, their operations are being conducted, and the approach towards personal and customer well-being also. So all the three all organizations, including banks and finance, will have to have a hard relook. The focus will have to be on crisis preparedness. All along had a particular meaning, but the COVID situation has really shaken those things and said that and compelled us certain more lessons that we'll be discussing later. So our preparedness to face the situation, not just for a few hours or a few days, months on months, the kind of long period, we have to be prepared for, geared up for facing situation. That is to be a big lesson during this period we have learned. And the system's resilience, again, as I said that earlier, whatever resilience and assumption that we had was for a very short period. Now that has been shaken, and we have to had a relook on how long we should assume the problems will continue. That could be for months and months, and accordingly, the resilience will also have to be redesigned. Health, of course, because the whole pandemic is because of the health reasons, and the health, not only the staff and also the customers with whom the organization will be dealing with, and accordingly certain rearrangements will have to be made. So organizations during this coming period have to take certain new calls. Very first call for the banks specifically will be the flexibility, in the sense that is it necessary that all staff will have to compulsorily come to the office to attend to their work? All along, we had been thinking that whereas in industries like IT sector, which is very, very suitable for work from home, whereas bank, which is customer oriented, may not necessarily be flexible or maneuverable for that kind of situation. That has been questioned, and that has been myth has been removed during this period, and it is possible to work from home, attend to customer service working from home also. That has been established, and because of that experience, going forward, the organization can have a real conscious call that how much of its work, how much of its staff it has to necessarily compel them to come to office, or how many of them could be working from home. That kind of reassessment is definitely needed. Then the office design, because of the social distancing requirements and health related requirements, the office location, office spots, layouts will have to be completely redesigned. That is again a given position, and very soon, in a very short to medium period, all organizations will have to redesign their office layout. And not just that, as an extension of these two, we also have to take care that the staff who are likely to work from home will have convenient and necessary equipments and arrangements, infrastructure at home also. So typically the homes are not designed for working from home. Now during this period, because of the experience, people did do somehow did work from home. But going forward in a structured way, in a very, very measured way, if we have to do, we have to help the staff redesign their homes also, like office part kind of structure. The organization may have to support the staff to build at home also. So that also will have to be taken care of. Then, obviously, more remote and more digital will become the new normal, and working securely from wherever you are working, that will again be the mantra. Next, please. Dr. Sastry in his opening remarks definitely mentioned about this BCP. Because one great learning that we had really learned during this COVID period is about our assumptions and the design that we had all along believed was sufficient for the BCP. that all those things have been shaken up now. I'll dwell quite a bit on this issue because that's what I thought as directors in the banks, we need to be, all of us will have to be exercising our mind on, because this is purely non-technical issue. It is not just purely technical. So this easily, it is actually, it is an administrative arrangement. So all of us will be able to appreciate the points that I am going to discuss about. So the first thing is certain assumptions we had while all along that has been questioned. That is number one, is that always we thought about BCP would mean that in a backup center, we should be able to reach our people in a jiffy because flights will be available. We can rush them, we can air dash them to the other location. No, now we found that there won't be any transport at all, leave alone airlines being, sorry, flights being available. Even movement of people can be fully prevented from one location to another location or from one city to another. So that is not just for, again, not for a few hours or so. It continuously for several days also, people may not be able to move to the backup centers. In that case, how are we going to do the work? How are we going to ensure that our business will continue forever? So that assumption has been definitely, we have to drop off, and we have to consider things like, instead of active passive locations, we have to see that many data centers will be active simultaneously. Not only that, and because of that, we have to gear up the staff working there also. They're fully prepared for any and every type of operations. They may be primarily be experts or assigned particular type of tasks, but on days like these, they may have to be able to handle even other required operations they may have to do, because others may not be able to be coming to the office, will be prevented from reaching office. In that case, whoever was able to do should be able to take those kind of jobs. So automatically the SOPs, the manuals, the operating procedures will have to be will have to be very clearly written down and made available to the people who are will be able to coming to those centers. So that kind of changes we'll have to do that. Then the backup center infrastructure, the capacity, licenses, will also have to be on the assumption that continuously we'll be needing them. It is not just a scaled down operation. That used to be another fundamental principle we used to keep when the BCP. BCP would mean that data centers will have to take care of certain minimum critical operations only. No longer. No, they will have to be able to do all type of operations for a longer period, not just a critical minimum. That would mean that the necessary licenses, necessary infrastructure, whether it's systems, servers, access points, or all those things, everything will have to be made readily available across very many locations. That is why it has to be a continuous usage arrangement. Otherwise, it will be a white elephant kind of debt investment. So to take care of that excess cost, you have to make all these locations equally operating even during normal times as well, and with quite a bit of extra redundant capacity to take care of situations like this. Then employee safety. Again, under BCP infrastructure, we never ever considered employee safety as a part of BCP. We always worried about the safety and availability of the machines and other things only, but not employee safety. Now, it has taught us, no, we have to include that also as a standard part of the BCP arrangement. Another learning, again, we had, because nowadays many organizations, including banks, depend very heavily on third-party services and third-party providers available or not. Then earlier it was thought that, okay, even if they are not there, because we have to take care of only the critical minimum, we should be able to do that even without third-party arrangements. No, now even third parties group also, the vendors and their other staff, their own capability to continue operations for through this kind of period will have to be ensured. That would mean that our arrangements with them, that agreements with them, will have to provide that for, and also you have to have continuous assurance about the quality of the services and their capacity to take care of this during the every type of crisis situation also will have to be assessed properly, and accordingly the third parties will have to be selected. And next point was, again, the BCP always we thought about the recovery point in time. That typically used to be minutes or hours, and very rarely the few days. But we know that now by BCP, these locations will have to operate for months and months also. So that is why that is another that is extended period of operation from alternate locations. That also have to be put in the basic design itself. Then only it will be possible to do that. So that is another. And succession planning. That's where I did mention about. It is not that we will be able to have every type of person always. For every type of operation, we have to locate second line, third line, fourth line, like that. So we even if one is not available, the second person is also not able to reach, then third person should be able to do. That would mean that many number of people should be able to do any type of work. That would mean that appropriate training to them during the normal period, appropriate rotation of jobs during the normal period. So that will help them gear up for situations like this to man any type of activities of the organization. Next, please. Next one. Yeah. So, yes, on the technology side, yes, I'm not going to talk much about because I'm not basically not a technologist. Others will be able to talk more about this. So that's where the simple things are there that secured VPN, then teleconnections, conferencing tools, data. These things will have to be constantly be upgraded and updated to take care of to ward off any type of known risk that had come up. Then the data exposure, that is where the trouble actually will be, but continuously hereafter. Of course, the data protection bill is likely to be passed. In that case, certain higher standards of data security and data privacy will have to be conformed to by all organizations, including banks and financial institutions. And even short of that also, the responsibility lies on the institutions because they collect large amount of data, which is very, very critical and private. Also, the safety of this data in the hands of the organization, in the hands of the people who are interested in operating, dealing with those data, will also have to be properly documented and enforced upon. So that is another area of special attention we may have to do. Then the cybersecurity, I need not explain it a lot here. Everyone easily would grant that more and more of reliance on digitalization, more and more reliance on remote working, it would automatically mean that cybersecurity has to be elevated to a new type of arrangement. So it has to be put on the new orbit. And because of that, you will have to, and it is not that once we have done it is enough. There has to be a continuous vigil on the security parameters because constant efforts will always be there from the culprits, from the people who would like to break in the cordon, security cordon of the digital equipments and digital arrangement. So we have to be constantly be on vigil and continuously enhancing the cybersecurity protocols and by gadgets or devices and the programs that we'll have. So that has to be a continuous process. Then end-to-end communication safety will also have to be secure. And finally, the very important point is about security as a culture. That is what is going to be the real frontline defense against any of the issues, because people will be working from any number of locations. Unless the people themselves, the organization itself is able to create that kind of mindset in the minds of everybody, that security should be a normal, automatic approach. So when that happens only, it will be possible to ensure that the data and the operations remain highly secure. It is not just the employees alone, including the customers of banks will have to be periodically be communicated with and emphasizing the need for cyber security. Next, please. Yeah, so that automated when you go by these kind of ideas, it will straight away lead to the conclusion that we need to be relooking, we need to be rethinking on the policies relating to cyber security and cyber elements in our the controls, the data centers, the vendors and others, and the role of CSO. CSO, so far we have been thinking that their role is primarily compliance oriented. No longer. It is going to be the chief information security officer will also have to be fully be participating in the normal business arrangements across every aspects of the business. Their role, because of the reliance on the computerization and digitalization, their role will have to be part and parcel of where every time a new procedure, new product, or new protocols are being framed up. Next one, please. Yeah. So to conclude, because I would just stop here. Thereafter, we'll have some discussions about Q&A also. So to conclude, COVID has really taught us several lessons for all organizations, including the banks and financial institutions. It has also compelled us to have a total rethink, comprehensive rethinking on the IT infrastructure that we have created in our organizations. The business, more specifically, the business continuity plans will have to be wholesomely revisited, and the cyber security framework will have to be enhanced based on the experience in this testing period. And all these things will have to be done very in the short to medium term itself. Thank you very much. Sastry, we may open up for question and answer.
Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for your talk. Now I request all of you to post any questions that you may have, and request Gandhi sir to address those.
Dr. Sastry was saying something. His mic was off.
The same thing. I just thought there is time for the directors to come with their comments, suggestions, questions, so that Mr. Gandhi can address those things and clarify them. So one by one, you can identify yourself and raise a question, please.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Sir, I have sent one this question in the chat box, sir. I am Dr. K.S. Ravichandran, Independent Director, Karur Vysya Bank.
We are not able to see. Can you please write that question now?
Yeah, I am saying that, the COVID-19 has even brought difficulties for delivery of systems and service providers also. Even the new computer systems, laptops, internets, apps, in every respect, the difficulties are faced in working from home. We cannot immediately organize. At the same time, we have the difficulty of servicing the customers. So what are the thoughts of Dr. Gandhi?
Yeah, exactly. This is the point I was mentioning, guys. During this COVID period time, because we had never foreseen such a large would come up, we have not been geared up to answer, to meet these kind of challenges. That is where quite a lot of measures have to be taken. Obviously, they were insufficient or to meet the full requirement of customer service. So, because it was an unplanned way in which we dealt with this problem during this period. So this is a lesson we have learned during this period, and that's why going forward, we'll have to assume that these kind of problems will come up again, likely can occur anytime in the future. That means that we have to, in cooler times, now that the lockdown is being getting lifted, we'll be back to normal by in another few weeks or so. Thereafter, by applying our mind, visualizing such situations in the future, and accordingly what kind of arrangements we have to ensure both within the organization and also the vendors with whom we will be dealing with. That's what I mentioned, that when we're dealing with when selecting the third party vendors, we'll have to reassess whether their capability to rise up to the situations like this. They will also be able to have appropriate procedures and protocols within their own organization to serve. It automatically means that there is likely to be cost of the cost of engaging them will definitely be on the higher side. The necessary price will have to be paid for this kind of advanced preparations and redundancy, which will be required to build in always. Even during normal times, we'll have to have that enhanced infrastructure readily available, tested periodically. That would mean that additional cost of investment will be necessarily be needed. The organization should be prepared for, instead of cutting corners in the long-term interest of their business continuity, they should invest in such arrangements.
Sir, this is Manoj Fadnes. Sir, this COVID period has come in at the end of the one financial year. So while we are closing 2019-20, this period has started and it has extended right up to date. Now, I'm a chartered accountant and talking from the audit point of view, since the financial statements of the banks have been finalized during this COVID period, there is always a fear in the mind of financial statements being materially misstated, because the normal procedures what the banks and the auditors had to undertake have been compromised to a great extent. So, what are your thoughts on how and what more could be done in terms of the banks being prepared for their financial statements? And the impact, though financially, is in this quarter, but it is this quarter that the financial statements of the year March 20 have been finalized. So, the possibility of a misstatement is always there in the mind. So, your thoughts on this, please. Thank you.
Yeah, you're right, because many auditors will not be able to have the full access and the time that normally they would apply for closing any quarterly financials, leave alone the yearly financials. So during this period, that kind of time was not available. Time in the sense that they are unable to access the required documents and they are unable to gather the required number of auditors and auditing assistants to help them out to conclude the task. So in that process, quite a bit of assumptions and may have to be done, like what we used to do, the limited auditing exercise, which used to be the earlier the quarterly statement, quarterly audit, it used to be called as a limited audit time. So similar thing, similar qualification may have to be applied during this period. That auditors definitely will be putting that kind of language, I think, in the report, having not been able to conclusively see through all the data, information, and the financial related arrangement, everything. So that kind of qualification could be there, but that does not automatically mean that the financial statement which they are going to announce, or the banks they assemble the statements, when they prepare the statements, it is not necessarily being bad, but it is only cautioning, a kind of disclosure that we have taken extreme efforts in making the information accurate enough, but there could be something which we will not be able to completely vouch for. That kind of qualification will have to be may have to be resorted to by the auditors, because that will be the norm across every institution. It is unlikely to be damaging to the institutions. That's what I would feel. And there is a question here that has come, that as we all agree that these are desperate times and requires desperate measures. Some decision taken to tackle the situation which are not in the policy. Will it be questioned by the regulator during inspection? Example, BCP was in place, however, no one ever anticipated one could not be air dashed, etc. Now VPN connection, will it be okay? Yes, when the inspectors come, the supervisors come to check out the requirements, whatever, definitely they will be pragmatic enough to understand that during this period, certain things might not have been possible. They will definitely keep that allowance in record. But they will also look at whether prior to the impact of COVID, whatever was required to be arranged and kept ready, whether the banks did actually have or not. That's where they will apply their mind. And if they find that there was a problem and that got exposed or it got revealed during this period, they definitely they are going to record it that the organization did not do the things properly. So while the capacity during this period being affected, that will be definitely be given due relevance in their report, but they will also look at the possibility of the earlier commitments and omissions and commissions. They will certainly make a remark.
Sir, this is Nilesh here
Yeah.
from HDFC Limited. I am a CISO of HDFC Limited. My recommendation to have a separate secure assessment of the remote work solution, wherein we can put an effort of having a separate red teaming effort and come out with the observation which will be helpful for all of us.
True, because
Thank
we have definitely learned that lesson during this period, because total reassessment of the IT security system or the information system audit may not necessarily give enough time for the remote access and remote availability. Now that becomes a critical element of work from home, obviously the special time, additional time will have to be allocated for that kind of approach. Organization can start on their own. Possibly even Reserve Bank may give direction in that regard. I agree with what you said. Right.
Are there any further discussion points?
Hello, hello.
Yes, please go ahead. Your mic is off. You have to switch on.
Yeah, now I'm.
Yeah.
Hello. Now, communication. I was wondering whether the communication devices we have, such as the webmail, that we do not run our own system within the banking community, which is secure and safe, because now you'll have an increased amount of communications between head offices and branch offices and also officers over disparate networks. So a single web conferencing tool banks can deploy, which are secure from officer to head office or officer to officer, instead of using the public networks.
Of course, I'm not, as I told, I'm not a pure tech guy, so I'll not be able to answer this question. What exactly should be the kind of standards required for network connectivity between the head office and its various functional units, whether it is branches or zone office, etc. So that our technical experts will be able to answer this question. Perhaps Shastri or somebody can answer this question. Ram Shastri, the question relating to the appropriate choice for networking.
There are standards actually now. It's difficult to come out with all those things. There are standards in networking or security related things also, but some of the things which are already adapted. It's not new that it's like infinite kind of thing where certain standards have been there. Similar standards can be done. Each bank can adopt the standards that are set for network security. In fact, in some of our modules also we cover it. I think we can prepare a small note from IDRB can circulate also. That is what is going to be helpful at this point of time as to what are the standards that could be. That is one. Second is the conferencing thing. Of course, here there are so many problems. Multiple conferencing solutions have come in this COVID kind of situation. So what can be used, what cannot be used. So this is another issue that comes. Like already government said Zoom is not a very safe thing. That kind of things also we looked at. We are doing internal conferences, which are very much important for the board meetings. We can prepare a technical note and circulate, but it's not possible to write it down at this point of time.
Okay. There's a question which has come up here. That is about work from home, because that is going to be new normal. Whether actually banking is a relationship business, and in this, would you advocate banks going in for work from home aggressively, irrespective of the data security concerns? Obviously, no. It is not no that automatically every type of banking operation will be amenable to work from home. Banks will have to choose. I can only understand that back office work, middle office work type of work can easily be done from home. Front office work, that depends upon that again. Already digital banking has, as a concept, has come to stay. There are many banks in the world who are digital only. They are at least targeting that in a short while to become digital only. That means that it is clearly there is a segment of the population who would be very, very comfortable to deal with the bank only through digital means. That means that those kind of operations or those kind of products can easily be attended to by the staff because there is no physical interaction between the staff and such customers. So obviously banks can choose the service type of service and accordingly design whether the work from home will be possible for that particular type of operations or not. That it will vary from bank to bank depending upon how much of emphasis they are putting on the digital banking only concept. So maybe some very traditional banks may not necessarily go in for that kind of thing. In that case, they will expect the customers to come up to their branches to get service, or the staff to be reaching out to them on the spot physically. So that kind of work may not necessarily be possible from work from home. And let me also say, work from home does not mean that only from home. Work from home actually would include work remotely also. It is not just the idea is that the person need not necessarily come to office to do office work. He can do it on the road, on the mobile when he or she is away, or at home. So that's why it has to be understood. There is a second part in that question. That's it. Right. That was the question. Thank you. Any other question?
Sure, you can also say about the risk management department to be working in tandem with this IT because of cyber security posing a lot of risks.
Yeah, because nowadays people, everybody clearly understand risk does not only mean business risk. Business and as the organizations rely more and more on information system, IT risk also is an integral part of the risk management. That is why, but unfortunately, what happens is that the people who have a good background or experience or expertise in business may not necessarily have that kind of deep knowledge in IT and vice versa. So that's why in many banks you find that there is a risk management committee and there's a IT risk management committee separately. So obviously working separately is not, then it won't be good. They have to sit together and they have to have a common understanding of the arrangements. IT group being more technical and more knowledgeable in technology, the details of the IT security arrangements, IT risk management will be done by that set of people. That does not mean that they have to do it completely independently from risk management, or the risk management group cannot completely ignore what is IT risk and leave it entirely in the hands of the IT group alone. So there has to be a good dovetailing of mixing of experience and expertise in these two at the appropriate level, not just at the board level alone. Down the line also, there has to be close coordination between risk management and IT risk management. I agree. Any other question?
There's a question from, or probably a suggestion from Ajay Kumar to everyone. CISO should have a permanent agenda in risk management committee. So what are your thoughts on that?
And that's what just now I had mentioned, that risk management by definition have to be across the entire organization, the risk that organization is facing. It just evolved thinking that the risk means it is only business risk. It is not so. This can happen in the IT also. So that is why risk management has to be a wholesome coverage. So in that process, now that we do agree that it has to be comprehensive enough, that would mean that the IT group will also have to have appropriate placement within this risk management group. Whether it is CISO or who should be there, and I think that's a matter of detail for each organization to determine who is responsible and I think. But the concept that risk management will have to include IT risk management also is an automatic.
Comments and suggestions, please.
Somebody's asking.
Somebody asking a question whether RBI or IDRBT can identify big banks in terms of IT infrastructure and IT security. RBI does it because RBI has it in it as a part of its annual supervision of the banks. There is a separate team within from Reserve Bank which go over completely about the IT structure, cyber security, etc. arrangements in those banks, and it is assessed in detail. So that is automatically if you're a director of the bank, you would have already seen such reports coming up to you as a part of the annual supervisory process of the Reserve Bank of India. Where they are rating it separately only on IT infrastructure and IT security. No, I don't think they are separately rating it. It is a comprehensive rating which Reserve Bank does supervisory rating. It assigns where IT related segment is also there, but it's not exclusive.
If there are no further questions, of course, we can always interact because we have that WhatsApp group in which we can always provide interactions. Is there any question you have?
One more. Padmanabhan has put a comment that RBI should not publicize the names of the banks which weak IT infrastructure that will become into for cyber criminal. That's true. So I don't think RBI will publicize this aspect. It will be a communication between the Reserve Bank and the banks only. It's not going to be public information.
Yeah, that's fine. Even when we do cyber drills, IDRBT, because it's an RBI institute, even we don't publicly tell which bank has done how much, because that's not the idea. Idea is to give feedback only to the concerned bank as to how prepared and what actions to be taken. I think that is one-to-one, which is to help the banks to be more prepared from IDRBT point. From regulators' point, see how risky are, what are the things that they have to take. I think it's one-to-one. Let me thank all of you for participating and Mr. Gandhi for sparing this time and giving this valuable inputs into this very important area. From IDRBT side, we are going to ensure three things. First, the presentation used by Mr. Gandhi will be shared with all. Second, we'll prepare a summary of the discussions today, important points that emerged, which could be useful to the board level. That again will be circulated among all bank directors. And there is one point on which we said that the standards relating to security, especially Wi-Fi related to those kind of things. Some documents are already available, which will flag and give it to all bank direct, all the participants. And if necessary, a separate document also will be prepared and circulated among all. So that will take it to the next level. So whatever discussed here, we will try to bring it to notice through notes and other things. Those who did not attend today, in fact, there are about 100 bank directors participating, like last time also. So quite a good number are participating, but there could be some who are not. Of them also will reach it out and do. So this we will do from IDRBT side, and we will continue to do with these webinars once in a month. And we are keeping our next webinar on July 10th, again a Friday, second Friday of the month. And that's the time when we will have Mr. Padmanabhan, like former executive director, who will be anchoring that particular webinar. And the topic is likely to be digital banking. Of course, we want to ask whether this kind of pandemics can make it quicker or can they act as catalyst, but more to look at digital banking as a concept. So please block your time and date again. Same time 11:30. So thank you.
One
very much.
question for Dr.
Yeah.
One question for Dr. Ramashastri. Sir,
Yes, please.
can IDRBT look, create a common platform for banking industry or including, maybe financial sector in India to have similar teleconferencing platform, the way we go to WebEx or Zoom or, Blue Jeans or one of those, Microsoft Teams or so. One secured one, and where, I think the discussions on various things can be held, sometimes confidential ones also. And regulators can also participate in that.
We will look at it. We'll study this further because most of these solutions we are studying, we are deeply studying now from the point of security, from the point of convenience. If something which can be used by many, especially for common banking forums like CISO, CIO, we are using some material like this. Some forums like this. We will study them further and see what we will try to do that.
This was in context of the Zoom related, some.
I understand that. See, WebEx is now generally treated as reasonably good, more from point of view of convenience and security. But again, we are studying all alternatives.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So I thank Mr. Gandhi once again for the valuable time that you have spent with the institute and with all the bank directors. Thank you very much, and thank you all the directors. And please mark your calendars, July 10th, that's Friday. Again, 11:30 to 12:30 on digital bank. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shastri. Thank you, everybody. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.